In the last episode, our boy stumbled upon some intriguing information about the origin of the beast invasion. At the same time, Snowy's brother also arrives at the military district, trying to start beefing with everyone he sees. Since Snowy went to meet him, Chin invited Lu Sheng for a drink, and he began bringing Snowy's two brothers up, deep in thought. Our boy began to wonder if he should go easy on them. As we continue the story, Chin obviously have no idea what Lu Sheng is thinking, but seeing Lu Sheng suddenly goes quiet, he gives him a hearty pat on the shoulder and asks, "What's up?" wondering if he was sweating bullets over there. Then, with a voice full of brotherly wisdom, he added, "If our boy is planning to woo Snowy, he'd gotta get through her two overly protective brothers first. As Chin put it, the road ahead is tough, my friend, so brace yourself." Lu Sheng shot back, shaking his head while acting like he had no interest in Snowy. He raised his glass, trying to hide the hint of redness creeping up his face. Chin wasn't buying it. He clicked his glass against Lu Sheng's and with a smirk said, "Come on, even Snowy doesn't play it this cool." She already admitted it. Lu Sheng was just about to take a sip of his drink when Chin's words hit him like a truck. He slammed his glass down on the table, eyes wide with shock, so much so that his arm was disoriented. He quickly asked what Chin said, and Snowy admitted to what. Chin, grinning, knew he had Lu Sheng now, remarked, "Oh, someone's getting nervous. Looks like I struck a nerve." Although Lu Sheng was a martial arts prodigy, when it came to matters of the heart, Chin could see right through him. Lu Sheng didn't even bother denying it. He was too eager to find out what Snowy had admitted to. Chin, enjoying every second, winked at him and teased, asking him what he wanted her to admit. But seeing Lu Sheng's genuine anticipation, Chin decided to cut him some slack, telling him, all right, don't get your hopes too high. She's definitely into you," but Chin paused for a few seconds, then pointed a finger at Lu Sheng and shook his head, reminding him that dinner Snowy tried to plan with him. He assumed that she wanted to spill the beans then, but guess who stood her up? Well, after hearing this, now our boy understood what he'd missed out on. But let's be honest here, our boy got his priority right. What do y'all think? Third immortal cell and perfecting his third stage immortal golden body more important? Or a date with Snowy? Anyway, Chin perhaps thought Lu Sheng was worried, quickly reassured him. He filled Lu's glass to the brim and said with a knowing smile, telling him not to stress too much. Once Snowy makes up her mind about something, it's pretty hard to change. But he believes that the real hurdle here is her two brothers. Just as Chin finished speaking, a group of excited people burst into the bar, their loud chatter catching their attention. One of them was raving about how unstoppable Dong Shengyi was, boasting that on his very first day at the Eastern Military District, he had already defeated two of the top general stars on the general star ranking. With the strongest two out of the way, who else could possibly stand a chance against him in the entire district? The guy exclaimed. Another person nodded in agreement, adding, "Rumor has it that he's planning to sweep through all 4 major military districts, proving his martial dominance on his path to becoming a martial saint." However, the other guy feels a bit skeptical, saying becoming a martial saint is a bit of a stretch. He thinks that the military districts are full of powerhouses, and this dude is bound to meet his match eventually. But end of the day, they all have to admit that Dong Shengyi is seriously strong. Chin listened to their heated discussion, his mood darkening as he realized Dong Shengyi was already making moves. Challenging people at a time like this is quite arrogant. Feeling a bit annoyed, Chin downed his drink in one go. He knew that with a martial saint backing the guy, the military district would probably have a hard time dealing with him. Wiping the corner of his mouth, Chin turned to Lu Sheng, his expression serious, telling Lu Sheng to be careful. If this guy is taking on the rankings one by one, it won't be long before he comes for him. And once he finds out about his connection to his sister, he is certain that Lu Sheng will be getting some special attention. Lu Sheng was seemingly lost in thought. After a moment, he rubbed his chin and suddenly asked, "So, how close are Snowy and her brothers?" Chin was taken aback, thinking Lu Sheng might be planning to ask Snowy to put in a good word for him, hoping Dong Shengyi would skip over him in the rankings. But that wasn't what Lu Sheng had in mind at all. He was already piecing together the bigger picture. Dong Shengyi was clearly using this challenge spree to build and strengthen his own martial will. This was crucial for his future attempt to become a martial saint. And as Snowy's brother, he was practically Lu Sheng's future brother-in-law. Chin, still a bit puzzled, nodded for Lu Sheng to continue. Lu Sheng became more serious as he explained, so basically if the two met, our boy will likely kick his ass so hard that his momentum is shattered before it even starts. Without that momentum, his chances of becoming a martial saint will be slim to none. But here's the thing, this is basically ruining someone's future. And with Snowy caught in the middle, things are going to get really complicated. Then again, there's another brother. If Lu Sheng ends up taking down both of them, things are definitely going to get awkward. By this point, Qin's jaw had practically hit the floor. He stared at Lu Sheng, eyes wide, circling him as if trying to process what he'd just heard. After a long moment of silence, Lu Sheng sighed deeply, shaking his head. "I'm telling you, my life is just too hard." Qin continued to gawk at him, slowly doing a full 360-degree turn around Lu Sheng, as if he were trying to figure out if this was the same guy he knew. Lu Sheng wondered what was going on. Qin didn't answer right away. He just kept turning until, with a smirk, he finally stopped and gave Lu Sheng a big thumbs up. "You know, when it comes to showing off, you are the guy." Lu Sheng tells him he's not joking, but Qin just nodded, still smiling. Yeah, I hear you." Meanwhile, in the Eastern Military District, a series of explosive shock waves echoed through the air. A man casually dusted off his clothes, scoffing as he muttered, "Pathetic." Around him lay several martial artists, most of them already unconscious. Only one remained conscious, barely holding himself up with his sword. He clutched his chest, struggling to stay on his feet, but every attempt to stand failed. Staring at the man in disbelief, he gasped, "How can anyone be this strong?" Those around them took a few steps back, clearly too frightened to approach. These are some of the top general stars in the district, and they together couldn't take him down. What were they supposed to do now? With no one else daring to challenge him, the man turned and casually greeted his sister. Snowy watched him approach, her expression complicated, her thoughts drifting away. Suddenly, a young girl jumped out, cheerfully waving at Snowy. She smiled and said with a grin, "Senior brother has been hiding his strength for 20 years. Now that he's shown it, he's bound to show it to the world." Snowy smiled at the girl, who she recognized as Lin Wanwan. She asked her, since the both of them had come all the way here, there must be something important going on. Lin Wanwan affectionately grabbed Snowy's arm, calling her sister, as she explained that she was working on a project related to beast genetics and that she needed a lot of experimental samples. So, she figured she'd tag along, but she is going to need Snowy's help with it. Her original plan was to ask the military for some people to assist, but now it looks like her senior brother has already beaten everyone up. At that moment, Dong Shengyi reached them, having overheard their conversation. He remarked that the overall strength of the Eastern Military District seemed a bit lacking, just a bunch of martial arts with combat power but with no real skill. Except for the number 1 on the general star ranking, he was somewhat decent. Snowy corrected him when he got the man's name wrong, but he just waved it off, dismissing the idea that someone who couldn't even take 3 of his moves was worth remembering. He then mentioned that he planned to accompany Wanwan to the cavern and would need a psychic master for support. He asked his sister to help out. Snowy glanced at the girl beside her. Despite her harmless appearance and ordinary name, was the daughter of a woman whose name resonated throughout the entire nation, Lin Zhengyue, the transcendent martial saint. Snowy asked where they planned to go in the cavern and which level they intended to reach. Dong Shengyi planned to check out the double S-level cavern while emphasizing the deeper, the better. He thinks that the genetic samples of stronger beasts are far more valuable. He added that Wanwan's research was incredibly important, and if it succeeded, it could revolutionize the entire world of martial arts. And who knows, he mused, the opportunity for him to become a martial saint might just come from her. Fiddling with the pendant around her neck, Snowy seemed to come to a decision. She agreed, but asked if her brother could do her a favor. Dong Shengyi smiled, also a bit surprised. His sister had never asked him for anything before. He told her she could ask for whatever she wanted. He thought she might need a hand to advance to Grandmaster, and he could certainly help her with that. But she shook her head. It wasn't about martial arts. Instead, she asked him if he really planned to take down everyone on the Eastern General Star ranking, one by one. He confirmed it without hesitation. The opponents he'd faced so far hadn't been much of a challenge, so he figured he might as well finish them all off. It would be a good warm-up. Snowy took a deep breath, but then, thinking someone in her mind caused her cheeks to redden. In a soft voice, she asked her brother to skip the 4th-ranked person. Noticing the change in her expression, Dong Shengyi quickly started searching his memory. Who was the fourth on the list again? In no time, he found the answer. The ninth war zone, 12-star General Lu Sheng. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Snowy, and with a snatch, her pendant was already in his hand. His smile was teasing as he looked at the pendant, which made Snowy a bit nervous. She quickly asked him to give it back. Seeing his sister getting upset, he immediately handed it back, joking about how she still had the same temper as when she was a child. She couldn't take a joke at all. Then, in a more casual tone, he tells her that since his sister asked, he will skip the fourth ranked, however, just this once. His plan was to take down the top martial artists in all 5 military districts, and if Lu Sheng could withstand even one of his moves, he would then acknowledge him and stay out of their business. But if he can't, then no matter how much Snowy likes him, it's not going to happen. His tone turned serious, making it clear he meant every word, but Snowy didn't respond. Okay, big guy, just wait. Dong Shengyi didn't mind her silence and continued, saying getting through him isn't hard, but it won't be so simple when it comes to Dong Pochen, reminding her when Qin tried to court her when they were kids. Dong Pochen nearly beat him to death. Snowy suddenly looked worried, as if she was imagining something she didn't want to see. Dong Shengyi gently patted her shoulder and softly told her to think about it carefully. Nearby, Lin Wanwan, having overheard their conversation, had a pretty good idea of what was going on. She quickly grabbed Snowy's hand and assured her, "Don't worry, I'll make sure senior brother goes easy on him. He won't hurt your sweetheart." Dong Shengyi chuckled and teased Lin Wanwan, saying, "When it's her time to start dating, her boyfriend is going to have to face your martial saint mother and a bunch of terrifying senior brothers in the martial arts school." Lin Wanwan, however, said her mom listens to her, and all of the senior brothers do too, so she's not worried at all. Seeing her so unconcerned, Dong Shengyi couldn't really argue with that, so he let it go. Instead, he made up his mind. Over the next 3 days, he would challenge every martial artist on the general star ranking, and then he'd head into the cavern. As for Lu Sheng, well, he'd definitely remember this name. Meanwhile, Lu Sheng had already entered the dream realm. He did some digging into Snowy's family background and was surprised to find that her 2 brothers were highly regarded in terms of history rating. One was rated 5 stars, and the other 6 stars. Dong Shengyi was impressive, but Dong Pochian, on the other hand, was on a whole different level. He was a 9th-level martial saint. However, it will take another 100 years. However, in this era, it wasn't uncommon for someone to be stuck at the 8th level for a long time. Even so, Dong Pochian's talent was undeniable. However, even knowing all this, Lu Sheng felt no real concern. A martial saint, after all, was nothing in his eyes. The 3 current martial saints wouldn't even be mentioned in the next few millennia, let alone a minor figure like Dong Potian. But what really caught his attention was Snowy herself. Lu Sheng couldn't deny that he had some special feelings for her. Saying he didn't like her would be a lie. Those fleeting moments of heart-pounding excitement from his youth had planted a seed deep in his heart, though like most seeds, it had withered away before it had the chance to sprout. Those subtle feelings had mostly dissipated with time, as fleeting as smoke vanishing into thin air. His feelings for Snowy were much the same, until the moment he saw her name appear in the spouse column of his personal information. That's when something began to shift. With that thought in mind, Lu Sheng made up his mind. Right now, what's more important is to improve his own martial prowess. As for her 2 brothers, if they came looking for trouble, he'd just go easy on them, just enough to avoid completely humiliating them. Also, he needs to make sure his acting skills are on point. But considering they were his future brothers-in-law, he figured he'd better give them a chance to cook before going easy on them. 3 days flew by quickly. Lu Sheng scrolled through his phone, deciding not to bother anyone who wasn't in the spouse column in the future. That meant from now on, he would try to keep some distance from girls like Amelia and Yang. Eventually, he paused on Ling Su's profile picture. It struck him that he hadn't reached out to her in quite a while. After a moment of thought, he opened the chat and sent a simple message. "You there?" Ling Su responded almost immediately, saying how she was just about to contact him, while informing that she got some updates. A few minutes later, his phone exploded with hundreds of messages, reports, data, and tons of essays. It was clear she had been preparing this for a long time. Lu Sheng rubbed his temples, already feeling a headache coming on. He couldn't help but wonder, if he married her in the future, Would she also give him a work report before they made a baby? The thought made him want to end the conversation quickly, but he decided to send a few caring messages instead. The weather's getting colder. Make sure to stay warm. Don't overwork yourself. Your health is more important. On the other side, Lingsu stared at her phone, her jaw practically on the floor. This blood-sucking, evil, heartless, and slave-driving boss was actually being nice. A few minutes later, just as Lu Sheng put his phone down, another message popped up. He picked it up to see Lingsu's reply. "Who are you? If you found someone else's phone, return it immediately." She even added a warning emoji. Lu Sheng chuckled, shaking his head. Suddenly, he realized it had already been 3 days. So where was Dong Shengyi? Curious, he flipped through the military news, which was almost entirely filled with news about Dong Shengyi. The guy had beaten everyone on the ranking list, but it seemed like he skipped over him. It didn't take long for him to realize it was clear this was because of Snowy. Lu Sheng thought to himself, there's a certain satisfaction that comes from being protected by your wife, something you can't fully understand unless you've experienced it yourself. With that in mind, Lu Sheng decided that since Dong Shengyi was respecting his sister, then he should repay the respect too. If Dong Shengyi wasn't going to cause him trouble, then he wouldn't go looking for a fight either. So there was no reason to wait around anymore. He might as well use this time to make another trip to the cavern. After all, with marriage, dowries, and taking care of a wife and kids on the horizon, he was going to need some serious cash. Well, 140+ chapters in, look where we have landed. Anyway, before heading out, he informed his maid that he'd be away for the next few days. Meanwhile, in a deep double S-level cavern, Lin Wanwan landed safely, rubbing her arms as she complained, "It's so cold here." Dong Shengyi glanced at her with a hint of exasperation. With such great genetics, it was a shame that Wanwan didn't dedicate herself to martial arts. What a waste. But Wanwan just shrugged it off, insisting that not everyone is interested in pursuing martial prowess. She then pulled out a pendant and put it on, and a soft, golden light surrounded her. With a smile, she said, "There, now it's not cold anymore." Dong Shengyi looked over at Snowy and pointed out that Wanwan's pendant was similar to hers, only that Wanwan's was far more valuable, containing the will of a martial saint, much better than the one Lu Sheng had given her. Snowy scoffed and turned her face away, didn't seem to be impressed. In her mind, her pendant was far superior. After the three of them finished preparing, they got ready to venture deeper into the cavern. Dong Shengyi took the lead, assuring the others that he would handle all the beasts along the way, and the two only needed to provide support. Lin Wanwan, clearly excited, raised her fist in the air, while Snowy gave a slight nod, her psychic power spreading out as they began their descent.